Wildfires are sweeping through the Amazon rainforest at an alarming rate.
In 2019, images of the burning Amazon shocked the world.
There's a major tragedy going on in the Amazon, which is really the lungs of the earth.
The Amazon rainforest itself is reaching a tipping point. If much more deforestation happens, the ecosystem would collapse.
The Amazon rainforest is spectacular. It's by far the largest forest on Earth and is home to some of the most impressive plants and animals ever discovered. But more and more today, news about the Amazon has shifted away from the amazing discoveries inside to focus on the issues currently plaguing the forest, namely deforestation and all the side effects associated with it. Currently, the Amazon is the world's largest deforestation front with 25 fronts that all exist inside 9 developing nations, meaning each one is trying to use their natural resources to improve their development and living conditions. All in all, roughly 20% of the Amazon rainforest has been cleared so far to make room for things like livestock to feed growing global demand and soy farms to feed the livestock. And it's predicted to reach 27% by the year 2030. But let's just say for some reason we lost control and clear-cut 100% of the rainforest in some sort of ecocidal rage. What would happen? Well, first, 5.5 million square kilometers of land previously covered by rainforest would be left entirely barren. In total, we would have cut approximately 390 billion trees down. Eventually, these trees would decompose and anywhere between 90 to 140 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide would enter our atmosphere. This is about equal to 3 to 5 times what we emit annually worldwide for carbon dioxide. Surprisingly, there's actually little net gain in oxygen produced from the forest, as the process of growth and decay are essentially equal in a stable forest. But even still, with all the added CO2, we all might have a harder time simply breathing on the planet. This change to the atmosphere would also affect the oceans. The increased concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere would translate into more dissolved CO2 in ocean water, making the whole ocean more acidic. This in turn would damage sensitive marine life like coral and microscopic organisms, and lead to things like bleaching and mass die-offs. Long story short, this event would have huge rippling effects throughout essentially every part of the planet, most of which would be negative changes. But trees aren't the only thing that live in the Amazon. In fact, 1 out of every 10 known species calls the Amazon home, and this region is by far the world's greatest collection of life on Earth. That means 40,000 plant species gone, 2.5 million insect species would be gone, 1,300 bird species gone, 400 mammals gone, and 400 amphibians gone. You get the picture. That's not even counting the 31 million people who live and rely on the Amazon rainforest for their survival. But now, let's take a look at what a cleared Amazon would mean for the region.
But inside Brazil, the global outcry raised a different kind of alarm: foreign meddling.
Esse é boom de vadio que eles não querem saber de árvore, eles querem saber do minério do Brasil.
Look at how huge they are. And it's emboldened further deforestation under the banner of a nationalist economic agenda.
Nós temos o direito de adotar políticas para essa área que nos interessem.
The present position is we have to develop the Amazon.
We've just passed about 7-8 kilometers of trucks at a standstill.
It's just insane. But the Amazon's industrial expansion isn't exactly what it seems.
So it seems as though there's a lot of unwitting complicity, regular Americans like you and I.
That's right.
There's a broad consensus that says that we're reaching a tipping point.
Não, não há. Não tem queimada, não tem fumaça, não tem nada. Olha o céu como está bonito, lindo.
The Amazon is the largest tropical rainforest in the world. Between 1990 and 2007, it reportedly took in 1/4 of all carbon absorbed by forests worldwide, a critical bulwark against climate change. 60% of the Amazon lies within the borders of Brazil.
Wildfires are sweeping through the Amazon rainforest at an alarming rate.
Reports of fires raging through the region dominated global headlines.
This is a clear sign that we need to stop destroying nature and our war against nature must end.
And the world called on Brazil to contain the blaze in an Amazon that has already lost 20% of its landmass to deforestation in the last 4 decades.
The world's largest rainforest, the Amazon, is crucial to any climate change solution for its capacity to sequester carbon, and it is on fire.
As you look out, we're not seeing lots of big fires, but you do see lots of small ones kind of dotting the horizon.
These agents from IBAMA, an arm of Brazil's environmental ministry, say the first step in deforestation is clear-cutting valuable timber, whether legally or, like this logging operation, illegally.
Look at how huge they are. The authorities that we're following have said that they routinely come across operations like this deep inside the forest. This is just one step, one part of the process in seeing the forest being dismantled.
Since 1965, Brazil has enacted laws to protect the Amazon from destruction and from development that threatens the stability of its ecosystem and encroaches on the land of indigenous tribes. But enforcement is increasingly difficult. In this area of the rainforest, there is an average of just 1 agent for every 25 million acres.
The Amazon rainforest itself is reaching a tipping point. If much more deforestation happens, the ecosystem would collapse and turn into a savanna or a dry forest and no longer be the rich, biodiverse rainforest that it currently is.
And how close are we to that?
Well, in recent weeks and months, scientists have said that we're within maybe a couple of years at the rate that deforestation is currently happening.
And what are the major drivers of that?
The main drivers are the agribusiness industry, and so in particular that's cattle ranching and soy.
In 2018, Brazil overtook the US as the largest producer of soybeans in the world. The Brazilian Amazon also dominates the beef market, accounting for 1/5 of all global exports. Inside the rainforest, cattle ranching and soybean cultivation go hand in hand, and several towns have sprung up whose economies depend on these two commodities.
Canopy of trees broken only by the Amazon River and its hundreds of huge tributaries and streams. 30% of the world's species live in the vast Amazon basin. More species of birds, plants and mammals inhabit this forest than anywhere else on Earth. 400 billion trees store 86 billion tons of carbon. Without the Amazon rainforest, the world's climates would be thrown out of kilter. It literally helps the world to breathe. 20% of the world's entire oxygen supply is produced here. Without it, experts say global warming would soar. It is huge, yes, but it's getting smaller. Logging and farming, the biggest source of danger. It seems impenetrable. Then small squares of green appear. This is the loggers at work, secretly cutting down trees deep in the forest. Then more green begins to appear, and then more. And suddenly, the forest just disappears, replaced with mile after mile of farmland. It looks like rural England. The point is, it just shouldn't. This is the town of Novo Progresso, or New Progress. It's in the heart of the rainforest, and it's a big place now. It's home to ranchers and miners. It's a boom town, and under Bolsonaro, the good times are about to get better. This is home to super high-end farming. The ranches are spectacular. Because it's been a rainforest for millions of years, it's incredibly nutritious. The economics are remarkable. In Texas, for example, 15 acres of land can support 1 cow. Here, 15 acres can support 30 cows. Agamemnon da Silva Menezes is head of the Farmers Union. He once famously quipped, "Nobody misses dinosaurs, why would they miss trees?" We joined him at this ranch that is specialising in genetically modifying bulls. It is quite a remarkable sight.
It's the biggest bull I've ever seen.
They balk at any criticism. They deny climate change and, like the president, pour scorn on countries who challenge them.
O que os outros países lá fora fizeram? Alemanha, Inglaterra, tal. Desmataram tudo, plantaram, enriqueceram, e agora se quiser plantar florestas de novo, é só plantar. A terra não acabou. Isso aqui, se deixar sem quem cuidar isso aqui, vira floresta em 3 anos, vira floresta. Então, por que essa utopia de achar que tudo vai virar deserto? Acabou aquela coisa.
70% of deforestation in Brazil is caused by ranching, and this is what it looks like when it starts. Mud roads are bulldozed through the forest to allow the logging trucks to get in. Slowly but surely the trees are pushed aside by the bulldozers. There's no law out here. The loggers are notoriously unfriendly and dangerous. Outsiders aren't welcomed. More environmental journalists and activists are killed here than anywhere else.
That are ignoring the impacts for the climate, for indigenous rights, for the Amazon rainforest, then yeah, you have a direct responsibility and a complicity in what we're seeing on the ground.
The loudest voices when we were hearing the global uproar over the Amazon burning was from Americans and Europeans, and here you've kind of laid out the complicity that these companies, and by extension us, our money, helps drive this.
Absolutely.
In the months since the Amazon fires, dozens of protests that have taken place around the world increasingly target the money that funds deforestation.
About 10 or so have showed up with panels essentially blocking the employee entrance into the building. About 150 so people here calling attention to BlackRock, which is a major financial institution.
BlackRock manages $7 trillion of assets, including millions of Americans' pension funds and 401ks. It's among the top 3 shareholders in global companies deemed a risk to deforestation. They declined an interview, but provided a statement that included, BlackRock is committed to putting sustainability at the center of our investment approach.
You know, if you work at a university or at a grocery store that has a pension fund, I mean, you know, BlackRock could be managing your money.
So it seems as though there's a lot of unwitting complicity.
That's right.
On behalf of regular Americans like you and I.
That's right. And the Amazon is still burning even today, months after the fires gained international attention. There are still fires happening, and of course, the government policies are still being rolled back, and so we're definitely not going to stop.
In January 2020, BlackRock's CEO published a letter urging companies to prioritize combating climate change. But untangling the web of investments and supply chains inside the Amazon is far from straightforward. The Brazilian government cut funding for protections for the Amazon in 2019. Ibama's budget was slashed by 25%, and Bolsonaro fired the head of the country's space agency following its publication of the scope of the fires. Bolsonaro did not respond to our requests for an interview.
Moro aqui há 20 anos, eu criei meus filhos aqui, fiz tudo isso aqui com minhas mãos. Cometi crime ambiental, se arar a terra, plantar e criar gado é crime, eu sou um criminoso, literalmente.
Olha o céu como está bonito, lindo. Não tem queimada, não tem fumaça, não tem nada. Então, dá para você, vindo aqui ver, é que você vai ter a realidade. Pode olhar, tudo preservado, não tem nada.